Morning, Bill here with the Metals Minute. Today is Wednesday, April 6th, 2022. Well, we've got gold leading the way again this week, up a fraction. Also leading in the 1 year time, and all the numbers are in the write-up today. But that's always a good sign when gold is leading the way, because that's indicative of where things are typically headed. And so it's a good time to be a precious metals investor. So let's talk about what the alternatives are out there. We have interest rates beginning to rise. However, rates are still going to put real rates in the negative category. So that should not negatively impact gold to any meaningful degree. However, it does not bode well necessarily for real estate, because as interest rates rise, that means the amount of payments that it takes for the typical real estate investor is increased, and that means that prices are pressured to come down. So that may be a dangerous place to invest. The stock market is another place that we should consider. And over the last 9 months, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is virtually unchanged in the same place it was 9 months ago. Meanwhile, over the same period of time, gold has had a double-digit increase. So sometimes people say, well, you know, we can always pick periods of time where stocks have done better than gold and talk about those times. Well, sure we can, but the whole point of comparisons is let's look at similar periods of time and look at what ways we can try to protect ourselves in our financial future. So not only was it the last 9 months where the Dow ended up in about the same place it started, but if we look back at the last significant inflationary period that we had in this country, where inflation averaged over 8% a year, that would have been between the beginning of 1972 and the end of 1982. And so during that period, we saw the Dow Jones Average end up after 10 years in virtually the same place it had been 10 years earlier. Now, what happened in between that time? Well, it went way down for 2 years and spent much of the rest of the time just getting back to where it had been 10 years earlier. What happened to gold during that same period of time? Gold went multiples higher. So several 100% increase in the nominal price of gold compared to money in the stock market that was worth much less 10 years later, because inflation had been at over 8% a year for that period of time. So we're just now entering in another similar inflationary period where they're talking about recession now, possibly worldwide, and that leads to stagflation. So keep in mind, when we're looking at periods of time, we don't just cherry pick random periods of time and say gold did better, but when we look at similar periods of time, when conditions were similar to what they are today, and at that time we were fighting, you could say, a proxy war against communism in Vietnam. Today we're dealing with only the Russians aren't communist anymore, but we're still involved in war. Things are uncertain. Nevertheless, the financial conditions look similar, and I believe it continues to be a great time to be a precious metals investor. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.